I think the Fighting Nerds are overrated. Yeah, I know that's a hot take, but after what we witnessed on Saturday night, where Ian Garry dominated Carlos Prates in a 5-round fight, where notably Prates really only got off like 2 solid minutes of offense, which nearly led to a finish. Let's be honest, he clearly won round 5. But other than that, Ian Garry was pretty dominant. Like, I gave that fight a 49-46. Some judges scored 48-47. But at the end of the day, now, once we see the Fighting Nerds up against the elite of the elite, I think they start to crumble. I really do. And you go, hold on, there's only been one loss. Like, how could you possibly say that? Listen, if we really look at all the wins that the Fighting Nerds have had up until this point, you can clearly see the resume's kind of padded, right? It's like there's some asterisks beside all these different wins. Okay? And I'm going to go through each one of them. And before I do, if you wouldn't mind, hit the like and subscribe button. Helps the algorithm, helps grow the channel. Look, Carlos Prates, his best win was Neil Magny. We all know that, right? And, he's supposed to fight Jeff Neal, and then Ian Garry is like a step above both of them, right? And he took it on short notice, thinking he could win, and he had some good chances, right? But Ian Garry played that fight masterfully, right? And so now we got to ask ourselves, like, is Carlos Prates that good, or is Ian Garry just that good, or did Prates have an off night? What was it, right? But like the reality is that Neil Magny is this stepping stone that a lot of fighters have used to crack into the top 15. So him just beating Neil Magny the way he did a few fights ago, his previous fight, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, you did the bare minimum. And obviously, we just saw Ian Garry on short notice turn him away. Which, by the way, like, props to Ian Garry for taking that on short notice. Props to Prates for taking that on short notice, right? Because, like, obviously Ian Garry is a step above Jeff Neal, much different style to contend with, right? And he said yes to no matter what. But still, calls into question, like, okay, this guy who's supposed to be the second scariest guy in the division didn't look all that scary against Ian Garry, right? But now let's look at the other ones, right? Mauricio Ruffy, he's supposed to be the next big thing coming up at lightweight, right? And once again, we have a similar kind of thing going on where, okay, yeah, he's looked really, really good in his last few outings, but his best win is Bobby Green, right? And that spinning wheel kick looked incredible, absolutely. No taking away from that. But again, like, Bobby Green is 38 years old. He's had a very, hot and cold career, right? Like, he'll have a couple runs of brilliance, and then he'll fade, and he'll lose, and whatever the case may be, right? Like, he's 1-3 in his last 4. So it's not like you're dealing with the creme de la creme of the lightweight division, right? Like, you're dealing with, kind of that, once again, that entry-level fighter that you're supposed to beat in order to crack into the top 15. So, and in his last fight, he basically fought some no-name. I don't even remember the guy's name. And he couldn't put him away, right? And again, like, I think it was a catch weight. It was 170, a lot of stuff going on. But still, it's one of these things. Like, beautiful performance, but couldn't get the job done, right? It went to a decision. So, again, a little kind of, okay, is he really that good? We don't know yet. We haven't seen him against the top tier of the top 10, right? Like, how will he do against, I think Jalen Turner retired, right? How will he do against, Hanato Moicano or something like that, right? Like, how will he do against Paddy the Baddy or Michael Chandler? I think he beats Michael Chandler, to be honest. But, like, that, again, how will he do against those top guys, right? Next fight, we've got Gene Silva, which, like, his is the only fight, in my opinion, that has, like, the least sort of, is he really that good? The smallest asterisk beside it. Because he beat Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell's 30. He's in his prime. But again, right, like, Bryce Mitchell is his best, like, his latest win was against Crone Gracie, right, who didn't fight since, like, 2019. And then before that, he got flatlined by Josh Emmett. So, like, and then he has a loss against Ilya Taporia. Like, he beat Dan Ige. He has some good wins, but he also has, he's lost to some of the top guys, right? So, again, one of these things that, sure, Gene Silva looked spectacular. He looked like he didn't even break a sweat Bryce Mitchell didn't look like he had an answer for anything Gene Silva was throwing his way. And in my opinion, out of all of the fighting nerds, I think Gene Silva has kind of the best chance in his division to become a champion, to be honest with you. But again, like, how does he stack up against, Movsar, against Diego, against Rodriguez? I'd love to see him against the top tier guys, right? And again, I think he can fare very well against a lot of them, but Movsar, the Diego Lopez, Ili Taporia, I don't see him beating those guys, to be honest with you. And then lastly, we'll talk about Caio Borralho, right? Once again, top guy in the middleweight division, and he's on a good run, but his best victory is Jared Cannonier. It's like, well, Jared Cannonier's been a top contender in the middleweight division forever. You're right. Absolutely. Jared Cannonier is an incredible fighter, but he's 40. Like, Caio Borralho beat him at 40. And, like, Jared Cannonier's looked really good, and he's been a top middleweight forever, and he's, been in title fights and all this other kind of stuff, but he's 40, right? And we all know, like, most professional athletes at 40 are not the same guys they were at 30, 35. Father Time is undefeated, right? So, again, fighting nerds look to me like they were good gym. They were gym of the year in 2024. But now, after the Carlos Prates fight, my big question is, are these guys as good on paper? Maybe on paper is not the right word, but are these guys as good as they're made out to be, right? Because we saw Carlos Prates get dominated by Garry. And then the other guys, like, they haven't lost yet, but they also haven't faced top-tier competition. So, for me, right now, it seems like there's a chink in the armor now. It seems like, okay, the curtains have been pulled. These guys are good, but are they that good? That's a question that I think everybody has. And let me know what you guys think, but I think we're going to start to see the fighting nerds take some L's and just be another run-of-the-mill gym.